at their transcendent progress. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. Please chant sutra number from 14, 15 and 16. Satu dirghakala nairantariya
Satu
dirghakala nairantarya
सत्कार सेवितो दृढभूमिः
Satkar sevito dridhabhumi
सतु दीर्घकाल नैरन्तर्य सत्कार सेवितो दृढभूमिः
Satu
dirghakala nairantarya
nairantarya satkar sevito
sevito dridhabhumihi.
Yes. So we were discussing how a seeker, if is not in continuous practice, comes at a stage where it goes back to the worldly ways. So that practice becomes, that means abhyasa and vairagya, and specifically yatna. Yatna means effort, becomes firmly grounded when pursued for a long duration of time without interruption and with a welcoming and positive attitude. It means that the practice must be consistent, repeated for a long time every day without interruption and with a positive feeling. So practice must be consistent without interruption. So try not to have any kind of disturbance during this time, and with a very positive feeling, surrendering yourself to the practice, saying, this is my sadhana, this next 1 hour, 1.5 hour or 2 hours. So how should the practice be? Effort be dirghakala, for a long time, nairantarya, consistent, and also without interruption, with positive feeling, which is satkara. Sutra number 15. Drushtanushravika vishaya
Drushtanushravika vishaya
vitrushnasya vashikara sangya vairagyam
Vitrushnasya vaishikara sangya vairagyam
Drushtanushravika vishaya vitrushnasya vashikara sangya vairagyam
Drushtanushravika vishaya vitrushnasya vashikara sangya vairagyam.
Then what happens next? The one who is in this practice develops first vairagya, dispassion, and becomes disinterested in all the subjects which are seen or heard. And we had also discussed these objects which are easily seen, and even the goal of the sadhana. A person also becomes detached from any kind of siddhis or yogic powers the person might attain. We are just trying to revise because there was some disturbance in the last class. The vairagya, dispassion of one who is disinterested in all subjects or objects seen or heard during hearsay, is named vashikara or mastery. According to Vyasa, vairagya or dispassion, known as vashikara, perfect mastery, is attained only when one has lost the craving for matters perceptible, such as women, food, drink, power, and affluence, or aishwarya, as well as one has lost the craving for matters that are heard of in the tradition and scriptures, such as attainment of heaven or the state of videha and prakriti laya, and so on, along with the 8 siddhis like anima, mahima, garima, laghima, prakti, prakamya, ishatva, and vashitva. We will see that in Sutra 3.45. What are the siddhis? But what this sutra is trying to say, the one who wants to be liberated with this practice, attaining Vashikara. Before Vashikara also there were 3 stages. We had discussed that completely. What are the 3 stages? Does anybody remember?
Trishna,
Utrishna, Vitishna, and Lokishna.
Lokishna.
No. There
Oh,
were
no.
3 stages.
Yatmanya,
Oh yeah. Yes.
Rekha, and Ekindriya.
Ekendriya. Yeah.
Ekendriya was the last, and before that there were 2 stages. What
Vyatirek.
were those?
Yatman Vyatirek.
Yes. So last was Vashikara, and after Vashikara, what happened? A person who was longing for liberation feels dispassion or vairagya, is not interested in day-to-day common objects, which is a sign that person has already started being free of bondages. What is this sign? Person has already started freeing himself or
bondages.
herself from bondages. I like this or I like that. The state of mind starts freeing itself rapidly from any kind of bondage that the mind is holding at the level of objects as well as non-objects. Now we will discuss Sutra 15. 15 we have, 16 here. तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यम्
तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यम्
तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यम्
तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यम्.
Yes, we had also discussed this particular sutra where we said what happens. This is the highest kind of dispassion, Vashikara. And what happens here? In the highest kind of dispassion, when through knowledge of the Purusha, there is freedom from all craving of the 3 gunas, the ultimate limit of knowledge or khyati itself is dispassion. Immediately after this very dispassion follows kaivalya or isolation. The only purpose of this sutra seems to be a caution to a sadhaka to always be on the alert. A sadhaka who has developed a desirelessness of all sensuous objects may begin to feel that as now those objects are not giving him or her any pleasure, that there may not be any harm if he or she uses them in a detached manner. However, gradually this vairagya diminishes by continuous use of these objects, and the sadhak begins slowly to take pleasure and attachment develops. So one has to be very careful even after vairagya of the highest quality has been achieved. Yes. We have seen many yogis and so-called yoga practitioners who have been in the West, but they were very good as teachers. But we see that there were a lot of demerits. They brought a lot of defamation to the practice of yoga. What was the reason? Once they thought that they had attained vairagya, they stopped practicing. So therefore, the original tendencies of the mind, the previous tendencies of the mind of the senses again started pulling them back into those vrittis which they already had. Yes, so this can be taken as one of the examples. Now we will progress from sutra number 17 here. Vitarka vichara ananda.
Vitarka vichara ananda.
Ananda asmita rupanugamat samprajjatah.
Ananda asmita rupa anugama
samprajjatah. Vitarka vichara
vitarga vichara
ananda asmita
ananda asmita
rupa anugamat samprajatah.
rupa anugamat samprajnatah.
Yes. So as we progress in this sutra, now the state of samadhi is discussed. After Vashikara or Vairagya, the seeker now starts attaining the state of samadhi. Yes. And what happens? The samadhi. What is this samadhi called? Samprajata samadhi. Samprajata is samadhi with a seed or samadhi with some support. What is the support right now? Maybe the practice that the seeker is undertaking. It can be asana practice or mantra chanting. According to the level of the seeker, it can be kriya yoga. It can be ashtanga yoga. Yes. So let's see what is sampragyat samadhi. This is the first time samadhi has been discussed. Which is the sutra? Sutra number 17. 4 experiences in the state of samadhi. How to know that we are attaining the state of samadhi is discussed here. I will just read the Sanskritam commentary. Vitarkashchittasya alambane sthula abhogah sukshmo vicharah anando ryadah ekatmika samvida asmita tatra prathamaschatushta अनुगातः समाधिः सवितर्का द्वितीयो वितर्क विकलः सविचारः तृतीयो विचार विकलः सानन्दः चतुर्थस्त द्विकालो अस्मिता मात्र इति सर्वे एते सालंबना समाधयः. So we take a small support of some object and we start attaining samadhi, and the 4 stages of samadhi I will now share with you. First is vitarka samadhi. Just start writing, make notes where you are. In vitarka samadhi, the mind takes the gross object, feels oneness with the gross object. Means whenever a seeker is close to that object, experiences samadhi. Whenever away from that object, this state drops. We see many artists also, when they are painting, they are in the state of samadhi. Great artists, they become so one. They are a different person. But later when that object is not there, they are not in that state anymore. So samipa, being close to the object of meditation or holding it, only during that time this experience of samadhi is there for the seeker. What kind of samadhi? This is known as vitarka. Grossness of the object of the samadhi is experienced. We call it sthul roop in Sanskritam. Sthul roop. Proximity or the gross form of the object of meditation is required. Like for a mantra chanting a seeker, the japamala will be required. The moment the japamala is in the hand, what happens? Starts chanting. There is a very beautiful narration. You want me to share it?
Yes.
Yes, it's from one of the Upanishads. One day, there is a man who is a trader. We are talking about the desert. So he's a trader and he has a camel. So overnight after the journey, he sees a hut of a sannyasi and he decides to wait for the night there. So the sannyasi, he bows down in reverence. The sannyasi says, okay, you just freshen up, you clean, and whatever bhiksha I have today, let's cook food from it. So while there is preparation of the food, this trader comes running and he says, Swamiji, my camel refuses to sit down. He's so tired, he refuses to settle down. So the yogi looks at him. Yogi says, so what do you do? Do what you do every day. He says, you don't understand. Every day I have a rope. I try to make some kind of nail. I fix a nail in the ground. जिसे खूटा कहते हैं. I try to have a nail in the ground. Then I take the rope. I tie that rope to that nail. Then I take it to my camel. I tie it to the camel and then he sits. But today I neither have the rope nor do I have the big nail to plant it anywhere. So the yogi smiles. Yogi says, go and do the same action for the same time, imagining the rope and the nail together. So the trader says, Baba, don't make fun of me. I am serious. My camel has to sit. Tomorrow I have to travel. Yogi says, you just listen. You do this. So he goes and for same amount of time, talking to the camel, with complete strength, trying to fix a imaginary nail and imaginary rope, trying it and bringing it to the camel's neck. He imagines that he's putting the rope there, talks to the camel like every day and pats him, says, sit down, with the sound that he makes. In 2 minutes, the camel sits down. So he comes running inside. He says, how is it possible that without the rope and without the nail, all this time I was making the same sound, but he refused to sit. And today, just by making the imaginary action, without the absence, he sat down. So the yogi smiles. They have the dinner, go to rest. Next morning, he wakes up, ready to leave. He goes, bows down in reverence to the yogi, thanks him and leaves the hut. Again comes running after 15 minutes. Says the camel refuses to get up. Swamiji, now it's a problem. How will I travel? My camel is not getting up, standing up. So the yogi smiles again. Says, do the same thing what you do every day at home. He says, I remove the rope. I loosen him. I pat him, comfort him. Then I again remove the nail. I pack it, put it on my shoulder and with him I leave. So yogi says, do that imaginary action again, one more time. So he again performs the same action and to his surprise, the camel gets up ready to leave. So since he's very happy from within, he decides to meet the yogi again on his way back once. And he comes. He says, Swamiji, how is it possible that the camel feels bondage without real actual bondage with the rope? How does he feel so secure and safe as though he's tied even when there was no rope? But this thought has been on my mind on the entire trip. You have to tell me, how did it happen? So the yogi explains, just like the camel, we have also imaginarily held on to things. Like there is a windmill, a bird comes and sits on that windmill. The windmill goes down. The bird starts screaming, somebody has held me, somebody has caught me, somebody has caught me. The wind comes up again, the windmill goes up. The bird frees itself, starts screaming, somebody has freed me, somebody has freed me. So the yogi says it is our state of mind that recognizes bondage in a certain way. So when you just did those actions, took the same amount of time that you take to tie him, maybe when you do it, you have certain strength. You say, maybe you're saying, I am tired, it was a tough day, or you're talking to the camel. So all of this, he has been conditioned to that. So the moment you do it wherever you are, he will settle down. Same is the mind of the practitioner in this state of samadhi, that some kind of support is needed in the gross form to settle the. Yes? This is understood? First state of samadhi. What is it called?
Vitark Samadhi.
Now, second is vichara state or vichara state of samadhi. So in Vichara, what happens? Even if the gross object is not there, the seeker starts feeling its presence everywhere, even in the absence of the gross object. Yes, are we able to understand this? Even in the absence of the gross object, the seeker, first only in the presence or only in the particular room, only in the on the particular mat, only with a particular mantra was able to attain the state of samadhi. Now, this only has dropped. So in the subtle form, the seeker actually starts practicing without any care, without the same object. I just has the power of the mind to visualize and understand the same object at its subtle form. Gross form means where you can see it, touch, hear it. Subtle form means just its thought. Means maybe the seeker is traveling somewhere, but visually is able to imagine. We call this Manas Puja. There is a very beautiful term. Manas Puja means what? You can sit here and do the puja for Lord Balaji in Balaji temple, imagining that you enter the mandapam, you're taking the flowers in your hand, you're in Samipur, you're going close, you're offering the flowers, you're meditating. So at the level of thought, wherever the seeker is able to put or condition oneself in the same state. This is one of the examples I am giving for what? The subtle or vichara. Subtle or vichara. Now, third discussed here is ananda. Ananda form is, now the object has dropped, the seeker starts observing his or her own senses that had come in the contact with the object. Starts observing his or her own senses. The senses start helping the seeker in experiencing, recreating that experience. So in this state, asmita, what is this state called as? Ananda. So in this asmita, asmita is what? Sense of I-ness is first time realized by the seeker. Who am I exactly at the subtle level? Sense of I-ness is realized for the first time. And finally, the fourth stage. What happens in the fourth stage? Vitarka, Vichara, Vikalpa, and Ananda. So this bliss of understanding oneself further transforms into the bliss of understanding Purusha. Usually seen, third and fourth are similar. First, realizing the senses, feeling of I-ness at the body level, feeling of I-ness at the subtle level. Just connect with what we have studied and then we will see the transliteration.
Ma'am, what is the fourth stage here?
We have Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Asmita.
Okay, thank you.
Usually the third and fourth state are together. We will just read the transliteration and see if we are able to understand it better, or we will again see all the four together. Sampragyata, known in its totality and in all details, is known so because it is accompanied by various forms of questioning, thinking, bliss, and I amness. The adjective sampragyata is from samprajna, meaning that which is completely known in all details. The substantive for this adjective is not mentioned by Patanjali. All the old commentators have followed Vyasa and have assumed that the substantive to Samadhi say that the substantive for this adjective is Yoga Pradesha, that is the sphere or region of Yoga, Antaranga, inner Yoga, or the inward going process of Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Yes, you can make a note here that where are these experiences, during what time? During Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. And this field of experience is known as Yoga Pradesha, as per some commentators. Even if we accept that substantive to be Samadhi, this is not the final stage of Samadhi. To reach the final stage, these four stages of Sampragyata have to be crossed. As the inward journey starts first, there appear vitarkas, questioning caused by violence, untruth, etc. arise. Then come vichara, the rational thoughts. These will slowly lead to the disappearance of vitarka. As the practice continues, these two lose their power and disappear. The consciousness goes further and enters a province of mere experience which has no actual thinking. What is experience that can only be described as ananda or this? This stage is also relative. This has to be transcended. The next stage is of simple asmita or I amness. So far is the field of sampragyata. The journey continues, and even this asmita, I amness, has to be transcended. When this I consciousness is dissolved, as there is no experience, who will experience and who will be able to describe it, even if the state is experienced in a subtle way? To give any designation to it is also therefore meaningless, and so it is very correctly indicated by Patanjali by a word of common usage as anya, the other than sampragyata, in the next sutra. Vyasa calls this anya as asampragyata, in contrast to sampragyata, which the later commentators follow. The word asampragyata would mean completely unknown or indescribable. So let's just gather what this sutra is talking about. Yes, if you wish to, you can just write the meanings of each word in Sanskrit. I mean, exact English terms, I will just let. For vitarka, write absorption with physical awareness. Vitarka, absorption with physical awareness. Yes. Vichara, absorption with subtle awareness. Then, ananda, absorption with bliss. And asmita, absorption with the sense of I-ness. Anugamat would mean accompanied by. And sampragyata would mean a type of samadhi which still uses the mind and object of meditation. A type of samadhi where there is still the awareness or uses the mind and the object of meditation. Yes, if you have any question, you can ask. Correctly, what is the first stage?
Vitarka Samadhi.
Vitarka Samadhi. Second stage?
Vichara Samadhi.
Third?
Ananda Samadhi.
Ananda. Fourth?
And Asmita.
In Ananda and Asmita, what happens in the state of Ananda? Senses are realized. Means, in a way, I am the body. The existence is felt. And in the last, beyond the body.
So, ma'am, all the
Share something?
mind. Sorry.
Jalpaji wants to share something? Yes, Ji. Yes, Ranaji.
Yeah, so ma'am, all the mindful activities comes in Vitarka Samadhi. Like some people are focused while doing cooking or doing art or coloring or paint. It comes
For
in this.
that period of time, no? See, Yoga Sutra, the challenge is we just have one Sanskrit Yoga Sutra and different commentaries have written so many different things. Therefore, for me, it's very important to keep referring the original Sanskrit commentary by Vyasa. So, imagine a person who has not experienced it and then writing it versus who has experienced these stages and then mentioned or described it. So, in fact, the first Vichara stage must have attained by all of us just for a very small period of time whenever we do something that we like doing. It may be for a few seconds, half an hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You must have absolutely lost the awareness of the body and senses both for a very short period of time. Many times we have attained this, just that we've not been able to hold it for long. First, because we were not aware of. So we dismiss it at the level of thought. What we do in Vitarka?
We absorb.
Question it. Yes, we question it, we look at it as a quality. Vitarka, Vichara both. In Vitarka, we will try to separate the object from other objects. Question, is this really helpful? Doubts are there. Will this really help me? In Vichara, we further start meditating on the qualities of the object in subtle. So gross, subtle, again subtle and very subtle. So like vrittis are not 5, they are 1. These 4 are also not different stages if you look at them. They are simply how we are progressing in the state of sampragyata samadhi. In sampragyat samadhi, first kind of samadhi, 2 things are used. Which are the 2? One is object of meditation and second is the mind. So can we have different object of meditation for all these 4 stages of sampragyata? No. The object has to be same only with which Vashikara was attained. There are more stages of samadhi we are going to see. This is just the beginning. Tomorrow we will also discuss asampragyat and then types of sampragyat and asampragyat. All of them. Able to understand or it's very heavy? So you have to let me know, madam, I have attained samadhi. Yes? whatever level. Madam, I have attained Vashikara.